and just in 2021, HIV was really about 40 years with us. So we have 40 years of an epidemic that we have been trying to fight. And today in Zimbabwe, we only are starting to have a conversation about really speaking seriously about what do we program for gay and bisexual men and men and sex with men. The way the response has been happening to HIV, you will appreciate when you had the first cases in San Francisco. There was a lot of clamor and noise from activists who lived there that time around. There is a gay cancer that is going about. LGBT persons are found. The men are getting thinner, they are getting viscous, and they are dying with a certain pneumonia that will affect them. Dr. Michelle was earlier on talking about the fact that most of the clients will have a pneumonia of some sort, what they call PCP, pneumocystis carinii pneumonia. That was the pneumonia that we find continued persistent for quite a long time. When they did investigations around 1983 to 1985, they picked cases of HIV in Africa. But the challenge was that it wasn't a disease of the gay when it was being seen in Africa. It was a disease that was affecting heterosexual couples. And there was a scare in the US to say, no man, this thing can be transmitted within amongst heterosexual couples. And government started to do trials. They started to do trials in the US. They did a lot of trials. Here again in Africa, the development of antiretroviral therapy drug studies that started in Zimbabwe. And you remember those drugs. Zimbabwe, you said if you took that regimen of Zimbabwe, you would have a lot of side effects. It would change even your physical structure, the way that you looked. The face would literally emaciate, right? You lose your fat on the face. You find that self will grow bigger and people will becoming obese. Those are all side effects. And with time, we continued to improve the regimens of treatment, right? And with time, we started to have PMTCT programs, started to target specific individuals because we understood how it was being transmitted sexually, vertically, through mother to child, like the child was presenting and developing specific nuances and approaches around prevention. You remember when we started, we had what? The ABCs: abstinence, be faithful, condomize, right? We pushed that message for a long time. We're not pushing that message anymore because we have other options, or it wasn't so efficient in terms of controlling the epidemic at that point. Now, we can even prevent HIV by taking a pill, by taking PrEP, you understand? And we have the science. If you are infected, you can take ACT until your viral load is suppressed or until it is undetectable. So we are encouraging those that are negative to take PrEP, those that are positive to take ACT, so that during the time that you are having your sexual intercourse or a sexual encounter, the chances of transmitting from one who's positive to one who's negative are minimal. Do we understand? And added to that, we're saying that people could use other prevention options. We still have condoms. We still want people to circumcise HCC, get treated for STIs when they develop. So the communities that we're calling communities of key populations are communities that have challenges accessing HIV services ordinarily because of circumstances that obtain in the spheres where they stay. One, or do you want to talk about this? What do you think are some of the challenges that make it difficult for gay men and bisexual men and other men of sex men to access services, for sex workers, for people who use drugs, for people who identify in a different gender than that which they were born as, for people who are called prisoners or who are incarcerated in prisons? What makes it difficult for these groups to access HIV services? Would you know? Yes, I have 2 hands.
Okay, by being judged by other people.
Yes, there is this judgment, stigma, discrimination, perhaps we can call it that. is very rampant. You wanted to say the same thing? The same thing. Criminalization. Do you agree that these communities are criminalized? If you go with the STI in the S, as a man, right, the nurse would want to find out what was in here. If you are lying on the bed, would you go back? Would you tell anyone to go to a facility that did that? When the nurse cannot communicate with you properly around what your challenge is or inspect you where you have your illness, they will probably miss you, right? When you have an illness. If you come in as a sex worker as a sex worker with an STI for the third time in 1 month, and the nurse says, "We are never relying last week." Until you learn to be responsible, go back. We'll tell about your peace. Would you go back to such a facility? Would you tell your friends to go there? So these are some of the challenges that are there. So we really want to ensure that we remove all these barriers that make the challenge for these key groups to access services. And what WHO and NAC and PEPFAR and what our governments are finally coming up to is that for us to win, when we say this language of leaving no one behind, we're saying that we are addressing the HIV epidemic even for those groups that we don't want to talk about because our religion doesn't allow, because our culture says it's wrong. As long as there are people that are filthy, as there are people that are abominable, we are not going to win the HIV response. So we need to be really at a zero HIV infections, right? 0 HIV-related deaths and 0 HIV-related stigma and discrimination. So today I want to leave you with, inspect yourself. Really think about how you treat individuals. And if we are to win with HIV/AIDS, no one is immune until all of us are safe. Thanks.